So you know what I got to do? Go down memory lane this morning when Tori's graduating high school next week, and it's called Clap Out for her elementary school that she went to. She went this morning at 7:45, and they had all the seniors up there, and we had them hold the picture of their kindergarten year all together. And it was the most bizarre. The principal was their kindergarten teacher, and she's crying. I'm like, everybody, all the parents are all emotional. I'm like, this is insane. Why are we here? How did this happen? And then the reality hits me that I have Trinity starting kindergarten this year. And I'm like, oh gosh, we're doing all of this over again. Whose idea was this?
Pretty sure it was your idea, Casey.
I think it was. I think I'm a little bit crazy because realizing that I still also have a 2-year-old that needs to go into kindergarten in 3 years means we're starting all over again for all of it for a hot minute.
Yeah, you're insane.
Maybe just a little bit. Maybe just a little bit in the best way possible.
It's okay. It's fun.
It was fun.
I think I love it for you. I'm glad it's not me. For the type of work that we do and how I do, like, I see babies and I love them, but I'm like, oh my God, no, get it away from me. They trick me biologically and make me think that I want one, but I don't want one.
No. We get to see babies all day long. It's just that we get to give them back, which is nice too. And I'm in that phase right now where the idea of going backwards again is just
am really eager to be a grandma. Like, that's where I think I'm going to really shine, because I love to hold in babies, and I love when they love you back, and when you're their parent.
But then you can give them back.
They don't always love you back.
After getting them a lot of ice cream.
Yeah. You could just say yes and be nice and have fun, and you don't have to do any of the discipline or any of that.
Know.
So yeah,
I know.
I don't envy you.
No. Well, and now we get to live vicariously through all of these amazing intended parents that we're helping every single day be able to get to that finish line and hold these sweet babies. And I'm so excited that we get to talk to Brian today, because I think he's spearheading this idea that parenthood looks different for everybody. Being a same-sex father himself, going through this process of trying to start their family and being able to really bring awareness to how do you navigate this process of surrogacy. So I'm really excited to hear his perspective.
Yeah, I think Gays with Kids is really cool because they don't only focus on surrogacy as a path to family building. There's also fostering and adopting, and gay parents have, especially gay men, have that challenge of family building, that they are going to need to go a non-traditional route, and they know that. And I think it's really great that he's using all the things that he's learned in his own path and sharing so many stories. I love following Gays with Kids and seeing all the stories of all the different types of families, that in all the different ways that they're built and the way that they come together. And it's special. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So I'm excited for him to be able to share those resources with our listeners and teach them about how to become a parent when you are a gay individual. And it's just going to look a little bit different, but still beautiful.
It's so cool. And I think the resources he's created and everything that he has is going to help these parents navigate this process a little bit better. So really excited to bring him on and pick his brain and have him share everything that he and they have created to make this happen.
There's no such thing as too many resources, too many people helping. Like, absolutely. All hands on deck. Let's help people build their families. Hi, Brian.
Hello. Good to see you both.
It's so good to see you again. It's been a while. I feel like we've been trying to arrange this for a while, and we've had like hits and misses in scheduling. So it's really great to see you.
Thank you. Likewise.
We found the time. Well, happy birthday to your son, because you said that's his birthday today.
It is. He is 15 years old. I can't believe it. It's crazy. Time goes so fast.
So welcome to Surrogacy is a Podcast. I think what we really want to focus on this episode is just learning more about your program and the resources that you offer, and really just kind of shed some light on the challenges that gay, bi, and trans men face in building their families. It's a little bit more of a unique process, and there's some challenges to it. And I know you have kind of committed yourself to making it accessible for more people and making it a little bit less scary and overwhelming. So we want to learn all about that.
Thank you. I am excited to be here and to be able to share all that with you guys. Appreciate you inviting me.
Do you want to start by giving us a brief little intro of who you are, how you got started?
Sure. My name is Brian Rosenberg. I'm the founder of Gays with Kids, and I like to say the head coach for GWK Academy. We launched 10 years ago. Actually, it was 10 years ago in March, so March of 2014. I remember the date because it was March 21st. It was the day after my birthday. I had intended to launch on my birthday. And, the internet, it just didn't agree with me. And the website didn't come live for whatever reason till March 21st, 2014. But basically came up with the concept after becoming a dad myself. My husband and I have 3 children born through adoption and surrogacy. The Levi, our firstborn, we found out about him when he was 3 days old. We brought him home 2 days later, and today he's 15 years old, and he's as big as me. And Levi's twin sisters, Ella and Sadie, came to us through surrogacy. I like to share that I'm the bio dad, and the reason I share that is because I'm also HIV positive. I have been for a very long time, longer since before I met my husband, and we've been together. Well, next month will be 31 years.
Wow.
And so his little guys didn't swim, so I was the biological parent. And I share that so anyone that's ever watching who's HIV positive knows that they too can become a dad either biologically or through adoption. It's not a hindrance. And shortly after I became a dad, at one point we had 3 kids under the age of 2 and a little chihuahua. And, my husband and I are both white. Levi is black. The girls are white. And wherever we went, people would stop us. And after a while, I realized it was like we were the circus sideshow, right? Everyone wants to know about our families and how they're created and how it came to be and who the heck were we. And after a while, I got kind of tired of having to share my story every time I went out. And so I was like, it would be great to connect with other dads, other gay dads. And at the same time, I could tell you, which I know is a question for later on, it was very challenging for us to become parents and to create our family. There were scant resources available for us back then. And so I also wanted to share my story. But it wasn't until the kids were all out of diapers and eating solid foods and Levi was at whatever daycare or pre-K thing he went to that I finally even had a chance to sit down and take a breath and say, okay, what's out there? And I was surprised to find nothing. And so I launched Gays with Kids. And my goal was to help others become dads and then help those who are dads navigate the gay and gay parenthood.
That's so beautiful. And I know it's like there's not enough resources out there. Where every day, Sunshine and I, in what we're doing, are trying to create resources that we know are necessary for these intended parents. I would love if you could share, I guess, a little bit more about, you had mentioned when you decided you were going to start and grow your family, what were some of the challenges that you guys were faced with in that process?
Gosh. Well, I can tell you some of the challenges are still around today. So back then, we didn't even know what our options were, right? Like, there's no playbook that says, okay, if you're a gay man living in North America, you basically can become a dad through 3 ways. Either biologically, through surrogacy and IVF, you can adopt a newborn through a domestic U.S. adoption, or you can adopt out of the foster care system. So there was nothing available. I did find an adoption conference. And I remember the reason that I thought was interesting. Well, so at the time I was like in my early 40s and my husband's 5 years older than me. And there was a session titled, So You Think You're Too Old to Parent. And so I'm like, okay, they know about me and my husband. We're going to go there. And we went to this conference just for this one session. And it turns out the room was packed. And I can tell you, besides me, my husband was by far the youngest person in the room at the time. And so, like, okay, I guess we're really not too old to become parents. And we started an adoption journey. And we found exhibiting there a great adoption agency that we ended up working with. But, the way it was back so I'm going back 16, 17 years ago. These video calls didn't exist back then. Everything took place, as my kids would say, IRL, right, in real life. And you would go to a meeting, whether it was an adoption agency or later on a surrogacy agency or an IVF doctor, and the meetings would last, I don't know, 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending on who it was with. We would try not to take notes because I wanted to be present and really participate in the conversation and be able to ask questions. But then we would leave like 45 minutes later, and we would realize we had all these questions that we're sure were discussed during the conversation, but we could not remember any answers, and we couldn't just keep calling them back again and again and again. So I honestly don't think we made a single decision during our adoption journey, our surrogacy and IVF journey, feeling truly confident that we knew what we were doing and we were making the right decision based on having all the information we need to have.
Yeah.
And so that really is what led me to want. That was a big part of what led me to wanting to use our story to help others. Is I was like, no,
because you just jump in the river and then the current just takes you, and you're like, I just trying to stay afloat.
And it's really cold.
That's a great analogy sometimes. Oh my God, it's perfect. It's exactly what it was like. But we didn't have life jackets either. So we were doing the dog paddle all the time.
Yeah, and you're getting hit in the face with branches and you're like, ah.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of challenges with adoption, I've heard, for gay men. And I don't know if that's regional or if it depends on if you're going through like a religious agency, or I know that there are some more hurdles for gay men than there are for married heterosexual couples or even single moms adopting. I think I'd love to, if you could share if those challenges are maybe overblown, or if maybe, because maybe there's some gay men that don't even try to go the adoption route because they just think it's walled off to them. And maybe you could shed some light on.
Sure, absolutely. No, it's a great question. And I would say that goes across, honestly, every path to parenthood. So one thing that I've found is it's really, really important that we work with organizations. So I consider a surrogacy agency, an IVF clinic, an adoption agency, a foster. I categorize them all under family building partners, right? They help others create families. So it's so important. What I found is that we need to work with family building partners that are not only experts within their field, but truly specifically have passionate about LGBTQ plus family building. You know, and others would say, well, they've got to at least be LGBTQ plus competent. But I'm going to take it a step further. I don't want someone who's just competent because they got one employee who's lesbian or gay or whatever. I want to work with an organization that shares my passion for LGBTQ plus family building. How do you know if an organization you're about to work with or you're talking to is passionate about LGBTQ plus family building? Well, I like to quote my mentor in the adoption space, and when she says, because they'll be shouting it from the rooftops. So what does that mean? That means when you go to their website, they'll either have a page that says LGBTQ plus or gay family building or lesbian family building, or they'll just have, you know, pictures of families on their website or on social media that are as diverse as everybody is in this wonderful country we live in. And so, like, if you don't see our families or families that will look like yours represented, run, don't walk, run away from them. I can't tell you, especially within adoption space, what's really sad is that, yes, today, if it's a religious-based organization, they can just be very blatantly homophobic and say, we don't want to work with you. We don't believe that you should be parents. But if they're not, then they can't do that. However, that doesn't mean every organization that is not a religious-based one is LGBTQ plus passionate or even competent. And I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to who were trying to adopt or even get involved in the foster care space, and they were just left, 2-3 years had gone by and nothing. And it turned out they didn't know that they had to do their research. They just went to the agency that was closest to their house. And sure enough, when I checked them out, these were not LGBTQ plus friendly organizations. Forget about passionate. Like, they didn't mention us. everything was very heteronormative, the language on their sites, on social media, etc. And clearly, they couldn't say no to people because you can't say no to anyone for sexual orientation purposes, but they had
But you
no.
can back burner them and you can just
Yeah,
delay somebody's time. That's so
correct.
cruel. That's more cruel,
Yeah,
I think, in some ways than even just blatantly saying,
I
I
I'm
agree with
homophobic and I'm
yeah,
not going to help you. Like, that's a
yeah,
kindness because at
yeah.
least you're not wasting their
Their time
time.
on that.
But to
walk on, move
pretend that
on.
you are
Correct.
and then to stall somebody on their journey to become parents is so evil.
Especially
Yeah,
when you know this process is such a lengthy one and that there are so many milestones that you have to hit to even get to that finish line, and to know that you could be stalled in the very beginning of that. It's sad.
it's
Well, I'm glad there's organizations like yourself out there offering this support to these intended parents and giving them a kind of an awareness to say, these are the things you're looking for. These are the things you should be asking. What does your organization do, and kind of how does that process work if somebody is interested in starting this process, navigating whether it's going to be surrogacy, adoption? What does that look like when they come to you? What are those resources you have for them?
So we started GWK Academy about 3 years ago. What was our first version of it, iteration of it, I should say. And my thoughts were, I had this weird realization. And honestly, I was on Facebook and someone said, "Hey, can we do a Facebook chat or a video call?" I'm like, "Okay." I said, "Just so you know, like I'm married, I'm taken, but no, it's not about that. I just want to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." We get in the call, and he says, "I just wanted to tell you to your face, thank you." He said, "You don't know how much you've inspired me to become a dad."
Hmm.
And I got off of temp. I said, "Thank you so much. I appreciate that." And I said, "So what do you do? What are you going to do now?" And he stopped for a minute. Then he scratched his head and said, "I don't know. I guess I'll have to wing it from here." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh. I've inspired people." And I don't mean to like downplay the importance of that. I know I've helped change hearts and minds, but I haven't actually helped someone become a dad. So that became the launch of GWK Academy, in which we have a ton of resources available. So the first thing we have is I want you to get educated. I don't want anyone to feel like I did, like that they're making any decisions without being fully confident, that they don't really understand it. So the first thing we do, if you don't even know which path's best for you, we have two courses. We have a surrogacy and IVF course, which is like 13, 14, 15 lessons, mostly videos. We try to do quick videos because we know people's attention seems to, go quickly. But we take you through everything you need to know. And then we do the same thing for adoption and foster adoption. So that by the time you've gone through these courses, you understand how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost. We've all heard the adage, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, the truth of the matter is, for gay and queer men, it also takes a village to create a child, to create a family. So I want to make sure people understand the different types of organizations and people they're going to work with, they're going to have to create for their village as well. And then once they understand all that, they can determine sort of which path is best for them. Then they move forward. And what do? I offer coaching calls, free coaching calls. I'd be honest with you, there's nothing I like more than just getting on a video call and talking to an intended dad or dad's couple, and just talking to them about their options and making sure they're well informed. Like, I just sit and smile. I love this.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a better way to spend the day. So I do coaching calls, and we also match people with mentors. So these are people. I told you my kids are now 15 and 13 and a half. So my journey was a long time ago, and I can't remember what I ate for dinner yesterday. So I'm not the best person to talk like about recent experiences. So instead, we match people with guys who've done the same journey these people are undertaking more recently, typically within 2 or 3 years. And we try, like, if it's a single guy going through adoption, we'll match it with a single guy going through adoption. If it's a couple going through surrogacy, we'll match them with a couple going through surrogacy. And we try to even match them if they've got similar family building partners. And so we have the courses, coaching, mentors, and last but not least, we do have a small network of vetted family building partners that we've all talked about in the past as well, that we can connect people with. And this is what I always say: look, the people in my small little network of family, they're not the only ones available for you to work with. There are plenty others out there that are wonderful and awesome, like Surrogacy is. But I only have so many in my network. However, that being said, if I were to start a journey, this is where I would start and talk to these people. And if they have other names of organizations, I say share with me. If I know of them, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do, often I don't, because as you guys know, there's just too many
So
participants.
many.
So
And sometimes they'll tell me the name of an organization that I do a little research on, and it's not one I would go forward with. And I will let them know that, and I will explain why I wouldn't go forward with them. And so, yeah, that's all the things that we offer at GWK Academy.
Oh, gee, that's all? No.
That's all. I was going to say the resource of connecting these intended parents to other dads who are going through a similar journey is huge. And I've recently realized that because we had an intended parent who went on their journey and they're happy, they're excited. And she had shared, I've been having such a great experience. If you ever have any intended parents who want to talk to me, let me know. Well, sure enough, I talked with an intended mom, a single mom, who was like, how do I navigate this by myself? And is this even something that I can do? And I said, yes, it is. And let me put you in contact with this other amazing woman. And they did, they connected. And the conversation, having somebody who's going through it currently to share that perspective is huge. It's so
priceless.
big.
That community is so, because it's so, going through infertility or struggling to build your family is a really isolating experience. It can be, and can feel really alone in it. And having connected with somebody that's even just a little bit further along on the path than you are is just like, probably gives you so much peace of mind. I know it did for me when I was becoming a surrogate. I wanted to talk to other surrogates who were like, knew what was coming around the next corner, because there's always so many different hurdles that you're going over. Um, I had kind of an interesting, when I think about my family building experience, I was a teen mom, and I went through that decision when I was 16. Am I going to keep this baby? Am I going to give her up for adoption? Those were the only options I considered. And I went to an adoption agency, and I like read through profiles and stuff of families, and I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I can do that. I think it's amazing that there are people that give their children up for adoption, and that are, uh, and because that's a gift too. If you don't have the ability to parent that child and give them the life that they deserve, and there are others out there that are ready and willing to do it, I think giving a child up for adoption is such a strong and beautiful gift. But I wasn't ready to do that. And then I only had one child, and then I became, a teen mom, and that was rough. And then I became a surrogate. And then years later, I stumbled into a foster to adopt situation. So I was fostering my youngest now, got her when she was 4, and it took about 18 months to go through the foster process before we were able to finalize adoption. And then I did 2 more surrogacy journeys. So I feel like I've kind of dabbled in all these different things from a different angle than how you've approached them, but we've kind of touched all the same avenues of how to just get children into the loving arms of people who want to love them. And it's so
So
special.
scary, Sunshine, is there are 400,000 children in the foster care system. Of those 400,000 kids, the goal of the foster care system is that the child or children get reunited with some birth family member, right? It doesn't have to be the parent. It could be grandparent, aunt, uncle, cousin. It could even be like the science teacher from elementary school, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But of that, 20, it's over 25%. So more than 100,000, more than 125,000 of those children are what's called freed up for adoption, meaning they're just waiting for their forever families.
Yeah.
How anyone could not be willing to do whatever it takes to make sure these children, these 125,000 U.S. kids, don't have a loving family to go home to is crazy to me. And one of my goals with GWK Academy is I hope we do a lot about talking about foster care system, especially for the LGBTQ plus kids, because I think in general we've all heard awful stories about how foster care kids are treated. Well, the LGBTQ plus kids are treated like really, really bad. And so I'm hoping that I can have some kind of impact or influence in just increasing the number of gay families that
That's beautiful.
that become
Well,
dads.
I remember one of the classes I was taking when I was going through foster care, because you have to do all these hours of courses while you're going through like trauma informed courses and all these things. And I learned, and I was really surprised, there's a lot of teenagers, LGBTQ plus teenagers, that end up in foster care because their own parents reject them.
Correct.
And there are people that are signing up for foster care that are like, I remember somebody was saying, well, what if I'm not comfortable bringing an LGBTQ, or gay, whatever, they didn't even say it that nicely, kid into my home. And I remember the teacher of the course was like, then I think you're in the wrong place. And I don't think you're qualified to be a foster parent.
yeah.
Because who's
There's
to
the
say if
door.
their kid who they bring home doesn't come out to them at some point in the future, and they're telling them
Right. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
they can't be loving parents?
Yeah.
Then I
Well,
know.
and I know even to adopt and to foster is not an easy. I think there is so much misconceptions in that. Okay, well, why aren't you just adopting and why are you choosing to use and go the surrogacy route? But adoption is not an easy process either. There are so many hoops that you have to jump through. What would be, I guess you see probably all of the different reasons why somebody might choose adoption over foster, but do you have any insight to kind of how you help these fathers figure out what is the best route for them and what does that time frame look for them?
Sure. So coincidentally, right now, if you were to start a surrogacy and IVF journey or start an adoption journey, and by that I mean like you've picked your family building partners and you're ready to move forward, etc. It would take about 2 years either way.
Yeah.
So the time frame is around the same right now. I think that the biggest difference is for people who want to have a biological connection to their kids, and then they're going to go surrogacy route. And not only do they get a biological connection, but they also get to help choose the other half of the
Mm-hmm.
genes. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that for people for whom that's important, surrogacy and IVF is going to be the way to go. For
Mm-hmm.
people for whom that is not important, then adoption is likely the way they'll go. I've also seen, people who have adoption in their lives, they were adopted. Their parents were adopted. They have a sibling who's adopted. They're much more comfortable conceptually with it and we find that they're often the ones who are most interested in adoption first.
Yeah.
And then honestly, because I really do make sure people are fully educated, whether or not this plays out, I can't tell you, but I can tell how many people I talk to say, well, for the first child, we want to have that biological connection. We want to go with surrogacy. But when we're ready to come back for more, we'll look at adoption and foster adopt. Again, whether or not they do, I have no idea. I hope they do. I love the fact that they're even thinking about it and saying it because maybe they'll help tell other people about that as an option as well. But that's really what it comes down to, I think, is how much do you want to play a role in your own child or baby's, genetics, and how
Mm-hmm.
much you want to also figure out who's going to be the other half of that versus how much does that not matter to you.
Yeah.
And then we do need to talk about price, the fees.
Mhm.
Both are expensive. Most people do not have money around to pay for either, right, in their bank account. But a surrogacy and IVF journey, as you guys know, I tell people to plan to spend somewhere between 140 to 220,000, depending, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for an adoption journey, I tell them to plan to spend somewhere between 40 and 50,000. So
Mm-hmm.
either is expensive, but one can be seen as insurmountable versus
Sure.
the
That was going to be my next question. So you answered that.
Yeah.
And I think that plays probably a huge
yeah.
component in them figuring out what makes the most sense.
But foster to adopt is free, right?
Fostering is absolutely free. I think the issue with fostering is a couple things. Most people say they don't need a baby, but they want a toddler or a young one. And when you typically, I'm not saying you can't become a dad to even a newborn through foster adopt, but it's very unlikely. You're much more likely to adopt a kid who's between 7 to 11 is number one. And
Mm-hmm.
then, every agency, what I found is different. Some agencies will say to you, I understand, intended parent, that you want to become a full-time permanent dad. However, today I've got these kids who need a roof over their heads and someplace safe to go to. So if you want to work with our agency, you have to take these kids now and play that out with them, because you might have them for 3 months, you might have them for a year, etc. Some agencies will say that, and some people just that they can't handle that. Others will say, okay, you only want to meet with children who are freed up for adoption. Fine, we'll do that. But now it's going to be longer until you're matched with someone, because we have to match you with someone who's been freed up for adoption. And the more, if you're not willing to take a child who mom smoked or maybe drank a little or who did some drugs, then your wait time is going to be longer and longer.
Yeah.
But yes, it is true that when you go through the foster care system, I mean, the only thing you might have to upfront expense wise are legal fees, but typically even then the state will reimburse you.
Yeah. Well, and I know there's so many hurdles that you have to consider, and that child, what they've gone through and the trauma, and that, they could be, you're addressing and trying to be that safe place that they're landing when they are in your home, that it's just so many things. And for that blanket statement, well, there's so many kids that need a good home to be adopted. Why are we even considering surrogacy? Why are we even considering it? To me, it's a naive comment, right? You're not really thinking about the full picture or have the full landscape at all.
Correct. I mean, honestly, I really think everyone should be fully educated on what all your options are, and then make the decision that's best for you. Like GWK, we are no judgment zone. Like, I want to make sure you're educated, you understand all your options, and then you do what's best for you. Not everyone should consider adoption from the foster care system. You're right, Casey. The thing that every child in the foster care system has in common is they've experienced some kind of neglect or abuse or trauma. And it could be from just, some basic neglect to something really bad. And not everyone is cut out. We do an annual spring break vacation for families. And this one family that lived in Orlando came and met us for a dinner. They had a child who was like 14 or 15, can't talk, can't eat himself, has machines all over, and this is the child they ended up adopting from the foster care system. Like, unbelievable, truly angels on earth. And I'm not a religious person, but how many people are really capable of doing that? I'm not. So you have to really tell yourself are you able to parent? And doesn't mean one is better than the other, one's right or wrong. Everyone should have the information they need to make the decision that's best for them. And then once you do that, I'm here to support you.
Yeah.
It's really easy to tell other people what they should be doing. But when you turn that around and how come you're not doing that? I always ask, how many children have you adopted from the foster care system? Oh, none. I could never. Well, then why are you telling somebody else that they should? Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. I avoid that conversation like the plague, because it's no one's business. But the only person who gets to make that decision is the individual going down their journey to parenthood, or the couple. But yes.
So what does this process look like if an intended parent is deciding, I'm going to navigate through this? What is the cost associated kind of taking your course if they come and find you? What does that look like for them in navigating this?
My cost is next to nothing, and that's done by design. First of all, I told you, I'm fortunately I'm in a place where I don't need this to make a living, or I would have shut my doors a long time ago. I do charge money because I really believe that we're giving amazing value, and I think if you don't charge, then there's a perception that the value is not there. But we have now 3 memberships. One is a monthly whopping $5.99 a month. And you can stop at any time. But, we've been doing this for 3 years now. So there are people that I haven't talked to a year and a half, and now they're getting matched with their surrogate, or now they're ready to put their profiles out there, and they're coming back with more questions. And I love that, right? That's exciting to me. So people want to stick around. So $5.99 a month, or it's an annual fee of, I think it's $39. It's either $39 or $49, I don't remember. or it's a one time and you're set for life $99 fee.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, when you consider how much any path costs, it's really just because and it's also a way for me to weed out. Like, if you're not really interested, and you don't have to be interested today, like I have people who are joining because they want to understand what their options are, but they know it's still several years out before they're going to get started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I wanted to make it affordable for them and reasonable for them.
Yeah. Does that include the course for them to like everything? Wow.
Everything.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, everything. And what I did mention is we also hold webinars. Webinars are for everyone. Anyone can come for free. And then we host webcasts, which are typically more drill down topics on very specific niche topics that are based on the various milestones that you have to hit. And those are only available for GWK Academy members. We're really looking, we are doing more to build a community, not only with the mentors and people who are going through the journey, but people going through the journey with each other, because we found there's also great value there that you guys have already mentioned.
Yeah. And I think you also mentioned really early on, and we kind of just moved past it, but that you have been HIV positive for a good long while, and you're living a healthy best life, and you're a dad, and I think probably when you got that diagnosis a long time ago, maybe you didn't imagine that this is what your future was going to be. Do you want to share a little bit about that? And when
Sure.
people are getting a diagnosis and they're thinking maybe I'm never going to be a parent, like what did you learn in your process that you can give them some hope?
Sure. So I know that I contracted HIV in 1989. I 1988, excuse me. And I found out I was HIV positive in 1990. Um, Back then, it really was a death sentence. The very first doctor I had literally said to me, "Here's AZT. You're going to take this, and you're going to call me when you get really sick." And I remember the nurse who worked for him was this Jewish woman, and she looked down at my last name and she saw that I'm Rosenberg. So she assumed that she's like, "What is a nice Jewish boy like you doing in a place like this?" And so I can tell you, then I came out and blah, blah, blah. But in my 30s, so my 29th year through my 30s or mid 30s, I probably went to 25 to 30 funerals, all of guys in their 20s and 30s. I went to one funeral, this guy hit 40. And we were all like, "Oh my God, he lived to 40. Can you imagine?" We all hoped that we would live to 40. So back in those days, we weren't thinking about parenthood, right? Like, it wasn't even an option for us. It was when we were going to get sick and die. And so I did know a couple of people who became dads then, but like literally two or three people and I was very enmeshed in the in the gay, let's say, in the gay community in first Boston South End. And I worked at the Fenway Community Health Center, Boston's big LGBT center. And I ran a program to help keep HIV positive men healthy and HIV negative men negative. And so it was just, I was in the thick of it. I was in the heart of it. So I absolutely did not ever foresee an instance in which I would be like this. So that was my 20s, I should say, in early 30s. And then life changed. And, different medications came out, and I still had friends who died. Why I didn't and they did, we all have some guilt over that as well. So I don't need to get a little verklempt. And so things have changed. And so today I tell people, just take care of yourself, take your meds, and you can do whatever you want to do. And I'm living proof of it because I've been HIV positive that I know of since 1988. And so if I'm still around, there's no reason for you not to be around as well.
Yeah.
In 1988, that was, I mean, that there was no, there's, what a miracle.
45 years ago.
You're a miracle.
Yeah.
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 And you're a dad.
So I'm a dad, yes.
And you're a dad.
I'm grateful because I feel like I had to do something. I had to have an impact on other lives to make mine worthwhile. Like that is something that I've felt hanging over me. Like, why am I here? Leo's not. Danny's not. Alan's not. I can go down, right?
The survivor's
I
guilt.
have to have done something. That is something I've always sort of held in my background. I had to do something to honor those lives and to make mine worthwhile.
Wow. And you're doing it.
You are doing it. And you should be really proud of yourself, because I think it's these testimonies like this that are going to make a difference for so many for years to come, you know? So you are making a difference, and I hope you know that. It's big and it's necessary.
Yeah. And I've been watching your Instagram and all the stories and all that you have been telling over the years with Gays with Kids, and just so many different beautiful families being built, and you give them a platform to show and to showcase, because it is so important. Like you said, when you're choosing family building partners, I was thinking about this the other day for our website, because I don't think that on our website we don't have like and I go back and forth about this, because I have a trans son, and I have like I always feel like there are some organizations that might like virtue signal their support for LGBT community, and I don't ever want to give that impression. And one of the things that I really loved, I don't know if you watched Schitt's Creek. Did you watch that show?
I love Schitt's Creek.
It's so good. And one of the things that I love about that show and what the vision was behind it was that it's not like they created a universe, created a world where homophobia doesn't exist. So people don't even respond to the fact that David is bi, or, you know, like they don't even, nobody has a problem with it. Nobody's like, I love you anyways. I love you in spite of, you know, it's very much just like these are people, we're all people, we're all different. We're all, and I like what we try to do in our representation is just show lots of different types of families and different types of people. But I don't want to have like a LGBT page or section on my website and have it appear as like a virtue signaling thing, because we really do want to help all types of people and I want everybody to feel included. But now I'm like, well, Brian says that we need to shout it from the rooftops, and I'm not doing that.
But we are, though, because we have a lot of videos that we've told stories of same sex daddies who are dads, and I mean, I think that we are, without having that being plastered everywhere. I don't know.
So so thing number one, reason number one is because our journey is a little bit different than what is involved in a typical surrogacy journey or in an IUI or whatever. So I think to have that, just as when many organizations have it, it's meant to be educational. Hey, gay men, we get you too. Let's explain your journey. Or hey, same-sex women, let's explain your journey, because it is different than the rest of the context. So that's number one. And then number two is I just do want to see like photos. But if you're, and look, come on, guys, I know you also, we follow you, and you're not like, I don't think anyone's going to say, oh my God, are they like open to all family building? I don't know. So like, I'm not talking, I think most people know that just when they visit your site, or if they
I
go
hope
to
so.
media.
I'm gonna look at it now though through fresh eyes and be like, is it clear? Does it show? Is it? Yeah. I'm gonna just go through it. I'm gonna be combing through it later.
It has when I've looked at your site. So if it's new, I haven't gone recently. But yeah, that's really my two things: is are the families represented across everything, and the page is really because what's different for us. And yeah, not everyone has to have a page that says LGBTQ plus, as long as but then is the rest of the content, is it written heteronormatively, or is it written for all populations? If your rest of your content is written for all populations, so and this is what it means if you're a straight woman. This is what it means if you're a straight man. This is what it means if you're trans. This is what it means if that's all like included, then you don't need a separate LGBTQ plus page. I would be willing to suggest that very few organizations across any family building partner do that, or make that sort of do that work to make all the content all inclusive. But if it is, then awesome. You certainly don't need a separate LGBTQ plus page. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Totally does.
And I do think we do try to do that, because I always try to be really mindful of pronouns and parents and not talk about moms and dads only, because sometimes there's so many people that are single moms, single dads, lesbian moms, gay dads, there's so many different families that we help and will help and want to help. And all of them have that one thing in common, which is they really want to love a child and they want to raise a child, and that's going to complete their life and give them fulfillment. And we want to help anybody who wants to do that to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We have this, we call it a mean tweet segment.
Okay.
And it's really just sometimes people post things on social media that is a little ignorant and they are not really thinking through their statements. And we
A little ignorant is generous.
Yeah, a lot ignorant. And just not really thinking through, like maybe there are more sides to this story and you have not all the information. Can we have you, I'm going to chat this to you and drop this right now in the chat. Can you read it and then respond to it?
Of course.
Okay. So sending it to you right now.
I hope you're taking your blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
What absolute nonsense. Instead of creating designer babies and using women's bodies as some kind of rent-a-uterus, they should be adopting kids that already exist and need homes. Shouldn't every one of us understand all the options available and then create families in the way in which it makes the most sense for us? And shouldn't if only every straight person had to go through a quarter of what we LGBTQ plus folks have to go through in order to become parents, then maybe these kids wouldn't even be in the foster care system in the first place. So yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous. It's all about creating loving families, safe and loving homes. And anyone who wants to do that should be able to do that, and they should be able to do it in the path that they choose. And I wish everyone had to go through, like I said, an iota of what we have to do to prepare for becoming parents, because you don't hear too many LGBTQ plus families that send our kids to the foster care system.
Yeah.
No, that's such a good point and so true. And I think the gay parents that I know, I'm like, God, I wish my parents were gay.
Yeah.
These kids are so loved.
They really are.
I'm like, man.
The asinine statements, I will say, is real and prominent. Unfortunately, we just have to keep combating these.
We just got to get them like a whack-a-mole, just.
I just dropped the second one.
I see it, and so we started posting stuff on Facebook before I realized I could actually restrict. For some reason, it won't let me restrict who it's shown to, but I can restrict who's allowed to comment. Mm-hmm. And so I've now, you have to follow us. And these are typical comments. So surrogacy is basically human trafficking. How extremely stupid and wrong. It's harmful to women and babies. Stop commodifying a sacred process. This is not a dig at those who desire children and can't produce them themselves. My heart goes out to those with that longing. Yeah, I'm sure. However, purchasing a woman for her fertility and use of her body, then tearing apart a child that is only known as biological's mother's heartbeat for 9 months, their bodies are scientifically intertwined for life, to satisfy another human who wants to shop a brand new baby is really dark. Well, first I'd say get educated, please. And don't get educated don't do searches through your friends. Really get educated on how a surrogacy and IVF journey works, at least here in the United States, where it's a true partnership between the surrogate, who gets as much opportunity and choice about who she's going to partner with, as the intended parents. And realize that she's actually not at all biologically connected, and that's done by design, and that these women have already given birth, and they're done with their own family building. So they, A, know what it's like to carry a baby, and B, can imagine what it's like to give this joy for somebody else. I hate this ignorant stuff when people, and they really do, they go into such detail about what we're doing wrong, and they have no idea because what they're representing is not even close to facts. So that's what I really don't understand. And then she'll
and you're so
comment like this,
confident
and
about it.
you have all these other people, oh my God, yes, this is awful. It's a sin. God didn't mean it this way. And they have no clue. I just don't understand that. At least get educated and come back to us with something like you just.
Or approach it with curiosity. Hey, I wonder if this is, let me find out. No, I wonder if they're biologically connected. No, they're not. Next question.
I wonder if the woman really gets to choose this and she's doing it from a place in which she is just lovingly helping another. Oh, no, I'm not going to look into that either.
No,
not interested.
Understanding that anybody who's working with an agency that's doing things ethically is going to pre-screen that surrogate to make sure she's qualified. It's safe for her, not physically, not mentally only, but financially, background, all of it. There are so many hoops anybody has to go through. They decide they want to go through and be a surrogate. You can't just decide you want to do that.
Not only the support of the intended dad that she's working with or intended couple, but she's got her own support, right? Either a husband, a mom, a sibling, a best friend, someone else who's there just and only for her. Like, get educated. That's what I just don't understand is.
It's frustrating. Block and delete. That's what we do. Block, delete, repeat.
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. I'm so glad that we were able to finally connect and share. And thank you for all these amazing resources that you've dedicated your life to making a difference and having an impact for other people to have the same benefits and family building that you've been able to enjoy. I just think it's really neat when people make the decision to give back and not just, I got mine and I'm on my way. That's really cool that you want to give that to others and keep making a difference. Because I know sometimes it feels like we're fighting an uphill battle, but you're making a big impact, and we're grateful for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm grateful that you guys brought me on here and you helped spread the word and for the work that you guys do as well and supporting and being passionate about LGBTQ plus family building because there's not enough people out there and organizations out there. So right back at you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to your son and have a wonderful weekend.
Your future pilot.
Thank you.
Bye, Brian.